Hello everyone, I'm Szymon and I represent Kraków University of Economics. I would like to give you a presentation which I have co-authored with Mariusz, Małgorzata ZAKRZEWSKA and Karol WŁODYKA, also from Kraków University of Economics. Our presentation topic is Agile, the level of implementation in enterprises, and the project has been financed by the Ministry of Science and Higher Education within Regional Initiative of Excellence Program. Let's start with the agenda of my presentation. At the beginning, I'm going to give you insights into Agile background based on literature on this issue. Next, I will present you research problem and methodology used in order to solve this problem. After that, I'm going to say more about empirical study and research results. I'm going to point out the conclusions which derived from our study. Constant social and technological changes contribute to the implementation of new business models that are characterized by innovation and flexibility. Recently, the Agile approach has been very popular not only in the field of software development but also in enterprise management. There are also claims that the Agile approach is no longer a matter of choice but a necessity determined by the speed of reacting to changes in the environment. Moreover, the success of a given business venture can be demonstrated by whether the organization follows market trends or stick to the traditional management concepts. The way in which organizations interpret the Agile approach is very important for the effectiveness of Agile implementation. It turned out that there are many different accepted definitions of an Agile approach. For example, as a management model, as a way of team and project management, and a programming method. In addition, there is a quote in the literature that agility is holistic and has an applications in businesses and everyday life, as it can be used anywhere and for anything that is worked on. Literature also indicates that everyone was focusing on Agile only for IT project, basically. It also shows that in the following years, this approach was adapted to other fields, for example, in product development projects, in the field of e-learning, and even in the creation of intellectual property and in management. It is assumed that many organizations are planning to implement or are already implementing Agile methodologies in organizational processes in order to take advantage of the numerous benefits that Agile can bring to the organization. Among them, the following stands out: faster return on investment, better software quality, and greater customer satisfaction. However, no structured implementation method for Agile has been yet identified. In addition, the following are also distinguished among the benefits of Agile implementation. Agile allows changes to be made after the initial planning phase. The Agile approach follows changes in customer requirements and allows us to meet their expectations. The Agile approach allows management to catch errors thanks to testing. Agile methodology motivates people to cooperate more than traditional methodologies. And among the benefits and advantages of the Agile approach, there are also the pillars of agility, which were created to provide an intuitive tool that can be used by various organizations. These pillars are culture of innovation, empowerment, tolerance of ambiguity, vision, strategic direction, change management, communication, market analysis and response, operation management, structural fluidity, development of a learning organization. Due to the information gathered in the literature review of our study, in the literature review phase of our study, we determined a research problem. research, we would like to find out what level of implementation and adaptation of the Agile approach are modern enterprises at. In order to solve this problem, some questions were posed, such as what are stages of Agile implementation to the organization model, what are areas of Agile application, and for instance, what are good practices of Agile. When it comes to methodology, in our study, empirical research was conducted, the main purpose of which was to determine the level of Agile application in enterprises. The survey was conducted using an interview questionnaire among 50 Polish companies. The interview questionnaire included questions about Agile definition, dimensions of the Agile implementation plan, roadmap, implementation barriers, management expectation, areas supporting Agile implementation, Agile application areas, value creation, Agile good practices, the presence of Agile roles in the organization, collaboration tools, and task automation, the use of technical platforms, factor favoring and limiting the implementation of Agile, implemented Agile solution, as well as positive and negative results from the implementation. The content of question in the questionnaire was formulated based on the main research problem, what factors or phenomena influence the level of Agile implementation. The following Agile implementation levels were defined. No action was taken, a plan was drawn up but no action was taken, a plan was drawn up and activity started, the roadmap implementation is in progress, implementation is at an advanced stage. The selection of the sample was random, and about 15% of companies who were invited to participate in the survey participated in the survey. When it comes to the characteristic of sample concerned, we defined two, industry and company size. As for the economic sector, the population was structured as follows: 10% of companies specialist in investment, administration, and industrial project. 34% of companies specialized in development projects, 38% in educational and consulting projects, 18% in media and telecommunication projects. The size of the surveyed company was determined by the number of employees. 6% were small enterprises, 24% were medium-sized, and 70% were large. After conducting research among companies, a survey was conducted among intentionally selected 10 experts who specialize in Agile methodologies. In the questionnaire, the survey asked to assign weights to the individual criteria of responses provided by enterprises, on the basis of which the Gatman scale was developed. The more rated a given criterion, the more expert believe it has a higher and greater impact on the level of Agile implementation than the other criteria. Thanks to this, it was possible to determine which activities have a greater or lesser impact on the level of Agile implementation. In order to elaborate the conclusion from this study, an analysis of correlation between the studied variables in enterprises and a regression analysis were performed. First, a logistic regression model was developed for the respondents' characteristic, followed by a logistic regression model for the experts' responses. Since the Gatman scale is ordinal, comparison of the variables on the Gatman scale in two groups were performed using the Mann-Whitney test. Comparisons of variables on the Gatman scale in more than two groups were performed using the Kraskov-Wallis test. Dunn's test was used as a post hoc procedure. Correlation between variables and the Gatman scale were assigned using the Spearman correlation coefficient. Analyses were conducted at 0.05 level of significance. Now we can move on to results of our research. The results showed that a large part of the surveyed companies did not take any steps to implement Agile, almost half of surveyed companies. However, it should be noted that the number of companies that declare an Agile implementation at an advanced level is higher than the number of companies that have planned the implementation. When it comes to the main application or areas of Agile, the most often companies indicate creation of innovation services products, usually 35%. 1 out of 4 companies see Agile application in important project with high visibility in the organization, and digital project pilotage proof of concept. More than 20% think that Agile may find its application in transformations of the way the information services are managed. Companies were also asked about good practices. The most popular are Scrum. Half of surveyed companies indicated this method. Kanban, 30%, DevOps, 28%, test-driven development, and Scale Agile framework above. 12%, extreme programming, 6%, and large-scale Scrum, 2%. Good practices were also assessed in 6-step scale. Each out of 10 experts rank the good practices in the 6-step scale. The highest ranked, this assessment is nearly entirely the same as popularity of good practices among companies. The highest ranked Scrum, 4.8, Kanban 4.6, test-driven development 4.1, Scale Agile framework and extreme programming both 3.9, DevOps 3.6, and large-scale Scrum 3.1. Scrum was valued by practitioners, Agile practitioners, as the practice the most compatible with Agile approach. Based on average assessment of application areas and good practices and data obtained in interviews, it was verified whether these, for instance, application rates are the most Agile rated somehow affect the level of Agile implementation. Similarity for good practices was conducted. The analysis showed that there is no such relationships because the p-value is greater than 0.05. The current slide shows only a part of the analysis of the correlation. A detailed description of the analysis and the consideration of the variables is described in our paper. When it comes to the level of Agile implementation, research showed that a large part of companies did not take any steps to implement Agile, almost half of surveyed companies. The most often indicated good practices among other are Scrum and Kanban, and also reflect in good practices assessment conducted by experts in Agile. The authors of the study noticed some limitation in the conducted empirical study. First, if the number of enterprises participating in the interviews were greater, that the data analysis and conclusions would be more reliable. Secondly, the determination of the level of implementation adopted in the study may have been too general for the respondents. The main point is that the study did not define whether it is the implementation of an Agile approach for entire organization or, for example, only for project management. Due to the small number of empirical studies verifying Agile implementation processes in enterprises, it is recommended to conduct further research in this area, taking into account in particular the differences specific to enterprises such as industry and type of activity, company size, organizational culture, etc. As shown in the literature research, the aspect of employee competencies and abilities has a very large impact on the implementation of Agile. so it is worth taking into account in subsequent studies. And now it is bibliography, and I encourage you to get familiar with our paper